Okay, guys, we had a chance to kind of look at an overview of the Constitutional Convention in 1787. So let's jump right into our notes. Now, the delegates met in Philadelphia, and they met on May 25th, 1787. Go ahead and circle that date. You want to know that important date that the Constitution Convention kicked off. And their goal was to revise the Articles of Confederation. Again, they wanted to fix and tweak the things that each state felt that was wrong with the Articles of Confederation, not so much get rid of it or change it. As George Washington is elected president of the convention, the delegates come together and they vow to secrecy, and they come up with a strategy to not just fix or revise the Articles of Confederation, but create a constitution that would work for each of the states, that would bring unity and harmony in the country. Some of those key delegates, other than George Washington, was Alexander Hamilton, a strong supporter of central government. We're going to look at him in detail in subsequent chapters. James Madison, he's the father of our Constitution. He's noted for a lot of the structures we get from our Constitution, and we're going to look at one of the structures he wanted to bring to our government system. So we have two rival plans that come out of this meeting of the minds, if you will, at the Constitutional Convention. We had the Virginia plan proposed by James Madison, again from Virginia, and Edmund Randolph. They decided, they pushed for three branches of government. Again, looking at the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation, what can we do to fix those? So they came up with the idea of having a legislative branch that would pass laws, an executive branch that would carry out laws, and a judicial branch, a system of courts that would help dispute any things that between the states or individuals within the states. And so the three branches was an idea they proposed. In addition to that, they wanted a legislative with two houses that would get representation based on population. So as you can imagine, Virginia being a larger state, a larger population, they would push for this type of seating system. The second plan that was proposed was by William Patterson, the New Jersey plan. In this plan, they wanted one House legislative and one vote per state. Again, thinking about the size and the population of these two states, New Jersey being much smaller, would push for this idea of one vote per state, because that would kind of give equality across the board, or in some cases give them more power because they're a smaller state. Now, in order to get anything done, as often things have to have some kind of compromise, okay? And so now we look at the Great Compromise that came out of the Constitutional Convention, okay? Robert Sherman, we took a look at him as he established Connecticut. He offered this idea of a compromise. He proposed that we have two House legislators, a lower house, the House of Representatives, that's based on population, and then an upper house, the Senate, where each state will get two votes regardless of their population. And so this allowed the delegates to come together to agree, a compromise to establish our government as we see it today. Another issue that had to be tackled was the issue around slavery. All right, northern and southern states disagreed on slavery. One particular area was the area of voting, okay? And so they came up with this idea of the 3/5 compromise. So we have the Great Compromise that derives out of the Constitutional Convention, and then we have the 3/5 compromise. The South wanted slaves to be counted into the population vote. As you can imagine, there are more slaves, again, based on their economy in the South, and so southern states would push for their slaves to be counted. However, northern states, they were much against slavery, and in many cases didn't want slaves to be counted, especially when they didn't have the right to vote. And so what they decided to do is come up with this idea of a 3/5 compromise, which allowed 3/5 of slaves in any state to be counted into that state's population. As far as the slave trade, northern states agreed with that Congress could outlaw slavery after 20 years. So again, here's another opportunity to deal with the issue of slavery, yet in order to keep the peace, to move our government forward, they decide to leave the issue of slavery alone for at least 20 years. The other issue was the issue of slaves running away from the South into the North, parts of the North, where slavery wasn't prevalent. And so they also had to agree that if slaves left, the slave owners had the right to pursue these slaves in the Fugitive Slave Act. Now that we had a chance to look at Section 2, what I'd like you to do is take a moment to summarize your notes. Remember, focus on what impact did the Constitutional Convention have on American government. And when you answer this question, make sure you are identifying leaders at the Constitutional Convention. Explain the main differences between the New Jersey plan and the Virginia plan. And then lastly, describe what had to take place or the compromises that took place in order for the Constitution to be signed. All right, look forward to discussing this topic with you in class.